Good day everyone, you are welcome back to class. Today we will begin to look at ratios, rates and proportion. Now let's begin. Now let's first of all look at ratios. What is a ratio? A ratio is a comparison of two or more quantities of the same kind using division. So it can be written as okay, so for example, A ratio B. So this is how a ratio can be written, or you can write it in fraction form, and that would be A divided by B. Okay, so that is what ratio simply means. Now let's look at some examples under ratios. The first example we are going to be looking at says, express 12 ratio 18 in its simplest form. So how do we solve this? How do we express 12 ratio 18 in its simplest form? It's very simple. So let's do it together. Solution. So 12 ratio 18. So I'm going to teach you two ways by which you can write 12 ratio 18 in its simplest form. Then you are going to pick the one that you prefer. Okay, so the first one is to find the LCM of 12 and 18. Okay, so let me put it here. LCM of 12 and 18 will be equal to 6. Understood? So then we are going to divide both sides of the ratio with the LCM. So meaning that I'm going to divide this 12 by 6 and this 18 by 6. Understood? So 12 divided by 6 will give us 2. 6 here 1, 6 here will give us 2. Then 6 in here, 6 in 6 is 1. Then 6 in 18 is going to give us 3. Now what do I have left? I have 2 ratio 3 left. So this is the simplest form of 12 ratio 18. Or if you don't want to follow that method, you can also express it in a simplest form as follows. So 12 ratio 18 could be written in fraction form as 12 divided by 18. Then you begin to divide the numerator and the denominator with a number which can divide both of them without any remainder. Understood? Okay, so if I use 6 to divide them, 6 in 12 will give me 2 and 6 in 18 will give me 3. So meaning that I have 2 over 3 left. And then writing this fraction 2 over 3 in ratio form, I will have 2 ratio 3, which is the same thing with this first method that we use. Understood? So let's move on to another example. So in this example, they ask us to express 0.5 ratio 1.5 in its simplest form. Understood? So let's quickly solve this. So 0.5 ratio 1.5 could also be written in fraction form as this decimal numbers 0.5 and 1.5 could be written as 5 over 10. Okay, then ratio 1.5 could be written as 15 divided by 10. Understood? So what I'm going to do next is to multiply both sides by the LCM, and the LCM is 10. The LCM of 10 and 10 is still 10. Okay, so let me just write it out. Multiply both by 10. So let's do that quickly. So I'm going to have 10 multiplied by 5 divided by 10, close the bracket, ratio, then 10 multiplied by 15 divided by 10, close the bracket. So this 10 will cancel this 10, and this 10 will also cancel this 10. So I'm left with 5:15. Understood? So now we can still reduce 5:15 further. So if I divide both sides by 5 now, or you could write it in fraction form first, which is 5/15. Then 5 here is 1, 5 in 15 is 3. Then so I have 1/3, so which is equal to 1:3. Understood? So this is how to solve this type of question. Now let's look at another example under ratio. This question says express 75 centimeter ratio 1 meter in its simplest form. Solution. Now what you have to take note in this question is the unit first of all. So we have 75 centimeter ratio 1 meter. So before we could define this, we must first of all make sure that the units are equal. So we can't go on with this centimeter and meter. So you can change this meter to centimeter so that we have centimeter. Understood? Okay, so note that 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. So in that case, I will now have 75 centimeter ratio 1 meter now will be equal to 100 centimeter. Okay, so permit me to remove the units and then I will express 75 ratio 100 in its simplest form. Understood? Okay, so now let me write it in fraction form. So I have 75 divided by 100. Understood? So what you need now is to reduce this fraction to its simplest form. And how do I do that? I will use 5 first of all, because 5 can go in 75. At the same time, 5 can go in 100. So how many times does 5 goes in 75? That would be 15 times. How many times does 5 goes in 100? That will give us 20. So I have 15 divided by 20 left. So I can still reduce this to a simplest form using 5 again. 5 goes in 15. How many times? 3 times. 5 goes in 20. 4 times. So I now have 3/4. So this is not reducible again. So I'm going to write it as this. I can conclude and say therefore 75 centimeter ratio 100 centimeter is equal to 3:4. Now let's look at another example. The question says express 1 liter ratio 350 milliliter in its simplest form. Solution. So again, here we have two different units, that is liter and milliliter. So we have to convert liter to milliliter before we go ahead and solve this problem. But I want you to also note this conversion unit, that 1 liter is always equal to 1000 milliliter. So take note of this conversion unit. That's what we are going to be using on this liter. Understood? So meaning that my 1 liter will change to 1000 milliliter ratio 350 milliliter. So I can now go ahead to express this in its simplest form because they have the same unit now. So let me remove the unit first so that I will deal with the figures only. Now just divide this ratio. You can change it to fraction so that it becomes 1000 divided by 350. Understood? So this 0 will cancel this 0, so we are left with 100 divided by 35. So let's go ahead and reduce this further again. So let me write this 100 divided by 35. Now 5 can go in 100 20 times. Okay, 5 goes in 35 also, that would be 7 times. So I now have 20 divided by 7. So I can reduce this further again, so I will take it back to ratio form, so which is going to be 20:7, and that is our final answer. Understood? So now let's look at another example still on ratio. Now the question says, if 135:x is equal to 3:5, evaluate x. Solution. Okay, so if 135:x is equal to 3:5, then what will happen? What is going to happen is that I will change these ratios to fraction so that it will be easy for me to work on in order to find the value of x. Understood? So this becomes 135 divided by x, then equal to 3 divided by 5. So multiply both sides by the LCM of x and 5, or simply put, let's just say cross multiply. When you cross multiply, we have 3 times x will give us 3x equal to 5 times 135. So we now have 3x equal to 5 times 135 will give us 675. So now divide both sides by 3 So we have our x to be equal to 675 divided by 3 will give us 225. Understood? So that is the value of x, and that's how to solve this type of question. Now let's take a look at another example still under ratio. This question says, evaluate x if 45:72 is equal to 40:x. Solution. So if 45:72 is equal to 40:x, then change these ratios to fraction. We have 45 divided by 72 is equal to 40 divided by x. Then when you cross multiply, we have 45 times x, that would be 45x equal to then 72 times 40. So we have 45x equal to 72 times 40 will give us 2880. Now dividing both sides by 45 so that we can get the value of x. 45 we cancel 45, then we have our x to be equal to 2880 divided by 45 will give us 64. So, and that is the value of x, the solution to this question. Now let's look at another example under ratio. This question says, as a result of inflation, a trader increases her prices in the ratio 19:17. What will be the new price of a watch marked at 3,570 naira? Okay, so what we want to find now is the new price of the watch marked at 3,570 naira. If the new ratio now is 19:17. So our new price will be equal to 19:17 of the marked price, which is equal to 3,570. Okay, so this is how to find the new price. Now let's solve on. This ratio, I will change it to fraction. So I have 19 divided by 17. Then of also means multiplication. Then I'm going to put 3570 here. Okay, so divided by 1. Now 17 goes in 3570. So 17 here 1. 17 in 3570 will give us 210. Understood? So we now have 19 times 210 naira. So 19 times 210 will give us 3,990 naira. So that is the new price of a watch marked at 3,770 naira with the new ratio of 19:17. Understood? So let's take one more example on that ratio and then we move on to the next subtopic. So the question says, a year ago, the daily sales of a newspaper averaged 16,320. Now, the average daily sales are 28,560. Express the ratio of present sales to last year's sales in a simplest term. So solution. This is very simple. So now what we have to do is to write these two figures given to us in this question in ratio form. Understood? So but the question says express the ratio of the present sales. It means we are going to write the figure for the present sales first before the previous one. Understood? So meaning that we have 28,560 ratio 16,320. Understood? So what we have to do now is to reduce it to a simplest form. But before that, I'm going to write it in fraction form. So I have 28560 divided by 16,320. So this 0 cancel this 0. So I am left with 2,856 divided by 1,632. Okay, so I'm going to begin to reduce that now. Firstly, I'm going to use 4 on them because 4 can go both on the numerator and denominator. So how many times does 4 goes in 2,856? That will give us 714. And then how many times does 4 goes in 1,632? That gives us 408. Okay, so let's continue here. So we have 714 divided by 408. Now let's use 2 to reduce it again. 2 goes in 714 and that will be 357. Then 2 in 408 will give us 204. So I will write that as 357 divided by 204. Okay, so let's still go ahead and reduce it using 3 now. 3 goes in 357. 119 times 3 in 204 will give us 68. Okay, so we have 119 divided by 68 left. Okay, so now let's use 17. 17 divided by 119 will give us 7. And 17 divided by 68 will give us 4. So meaning that we have 7 over 4 left. So this is the simplest form, but I will take it back to ratio form and I will have 7:4. Understood? So this is how to solve problems under ratio. Okay, so this is your classwork on ratios. I would like you to take your time to solve these 3 questions. They are very simple, so you should be able to answer these three questions if you indeed pay attention to the examples that I gave you under ratio. So thank you. Happy solving.